Good morning. It is May 10th, 2021, Curry County, Oregon Board of Commissioners. Monday, our first day of our budget meeting. Introductions, we have to my far left, Director Brad Rickert. To my immediate left, Commissioner Christopher Pash. To my immediate right, that seat will be filled by Commissioner John Herzog in just a little bit. Far right to County Council Anthony Pope, to his right, Staff Jesuit. And then our Budget Committee, proud to introduce Brad Alcorn, been with us 3 years now, former state representative and longtime Curry resident Wayne Krieger. And finally, very glad to have you here, North County Representative, couldn't have done better, Douglas Baker. Thank you. So could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So Representative Krieger, I want you to look at the screen here. Had it not been for a call, this is a human interest story, but I actually got my mother on Friday night. But I wanted four of my favorite people of all time. I think you were a little unhappy right there. This is in 2011. You were a little on the House floor, a bit unhappy with the governor, but Sal Esquivel, Vietnam veteran, served in the Oregon House of Representatives for, I think, 10 years. Of course, Dennis Richardson, we lost, went on to become Oregon Secretary of State, one of the finest people you ever met. This guy right here is only 5'5". I worked in his office for 8 months, and as tough as they come. Bear with me here. This is in honor of you and Bill Gerard honoring my father, and I'll tell you in a minute why I highlight that. So my mother calls me up Friday night. True story. And this is a flower she got for her 89th birthday. So she calls me up. She says, son, are you going to take me to church on Sunday for Mother's Day? I said, oh, sure, Mom. She said, do you read the Reporter? I said, certainly. She says, the part about Fred Girod. And I says, yes. She says, I haven't thought of that name for almost 80 years. I said, what do you mean, Mom? She said, I had appendicitis. She was born in Sweet Home. She had appendicitis when she was 13 years old, and Dr. Fred Girod operated on her. When she come back later, his wife, who was a nurse, said, would you mind watching our children for 2 and 2 weeks at 13 years old? And she said, well, yes, I would love to do that. The 2-week-old was Fred Girod, who is 76 and is the top Republican in the Senate. Used to be in the House when I worked for you and Bill. And I just about fell out of my chair. And so I said, Mom, I got to tell the world. And but at 13 years old, that's the first time she remembered that name. And here he is serving in the Oregon Senate as a Republican leader, and watched him for 2 months when he was just a baby. So thanks for letting me take that time there. I want to take about 4 minutes here and offer some insight. I think it's time to change our courses, and I'm really glad to have the three of you here. As a county commissioner, I'm beginning my 5th annual budget week, and I'm not wanting to start this critical week on a sour note, and I do apologize if now and again in delivering facts makes anyone uncomfortable. But I believe, however, the next few days our budget committee work may well be perhaps the most important week in the history of our county, and I'll tell you why. Maybe this should be a sobering state of the county message. What I'm going to report is not fun for me. I'm asking you to not shoot the messenger or my horse, but here's what my challenge to this committee and our board. I preface with, thank goodness, though, this is still a free speech zone. Here's the tough part. Forgive me, but I submit we are the poorest ran county in this half of Oregon. Since David Brock Smith left our commission board to go to the legislature in 2016, we became a laughingstock around our entire state. Plenty of evidence to verify that. Despite that he and I have for many years worked hard to repair that reputation, especially David. Note, we've had 7 different county accountants in 5 years. We're on our 3rd county council. We've had 4 different county managers in less than 4 years. None of the other 4 counties in our region, Douglas, Coos, Josephine, Jackson, allow this kind of management, this style of government. No other county operates the way Curry does. Yes, sadly, unfortunately, I've developed a little bit of an attitude. I'm angry with what has taken place here in my work to implement wise policy and wise spending, continually being discarded. I'm ashamed of the consequences for the citizens. Add last December, out of nowhere, we learned, oh, we're $1 million short. Not to mention, the secure rural school funding program for counties, the federal government is eliminating. Timber receipts down 70% compared to just 15 years ago. And of course, more fires and more natural disasters we know will be coming. Then please add hyperinflation, mostly due to massive federal and state spending. It's time to tighten our belts. I think it would be irresponsible to neglect or to at least partially look at significant cuts. We are not controlling costs. I'm not going to go over this item here, but I want the public to know that this needs to be reviewed. This needs to be audited. We need to know where and why this money was spent. We can never recover it. I'll have a copy at noon for all of you. I've been very public and outspoken on the incredible amount of resource waste. Sometimes proportional things we're trying to outpace the federal government. We have no rainy day funds. Curry Road Fund reserves, if the way the past 2 boards have spent continues, the CCRF reserves will be gone in just a few years. Even with the $4.4 million coming to us from the American Rescue Plan, which is a one-time shot, again, it's only a one-time shot, and many are lining up to spend that. Regarding PERS, we don't talk about this enough. The Public Employee Retirement System. This state unfunded mandate is costing our county a fortune. Wow, you got to give former Curry Commissioner Huxley credit. He and I warned and warned. I certainly hope I'm wrong, but I believe our county is headed for some serious aftershocks. That PERS debacle, $26 billion down. That's not a misstatement. That is the word from Salem. Again, that is 26,000 million behind. Our hard-working people here could very well in the future receive pennies on the dollar for their years of hard work from the PERS system because no one in state government has had the courage to solve this problem. Yet in the same time, in the last few years, here we've done everything possible to bring pay equity to and for our Curry employees. And to be fair, in 2018, I did everything possible and we succeeded in avoiding employee strikes. When it comes to priorities, I'll never forget a year ago I had a department head come into my office. We were discussing revenue shortfalls and he said, well, you're just going to have to figure a way to raise property taxes here. Is that the prevailing philosophy? More taxes? Yeah, about fell out of my chair. No, we won't. I've tried to offer at least the research into a possible consumption tax. No one here has offered to help. And then I've been criticized to dare to look at such a thing.
Commissioner?
Yes, I'm just about done. Go ahead.
Well, point of order, I mean, we've got a budget committee and we've got a strict schedule to keep to. These are personal things that you'd like to talk about.
They're not personal. They're the condition of this county, and I'll give you equal time if you like.
Why are you interrupting me?
Here's another one of the numerous
Let me
examples of
talk.
my frustrations and disappointments. The previous board fought me no less than 3 times in my efforts to choose from 2 different very reputable grant writing companies. Couldn't get support. We've lost substantial amounts of
Only when
needed
you're ready
funding
to
and we're
talk.
eligible for it. I respectfully warn that in my view, I don't see how any department is immune from at least some scrutiny. I want to add, however, I believe the main 6, the clerk, the juvenile, the district attorney, sheriff, roads, and assessor are all well managed. Some of our smaller departments, not so, are expensive to operate and may need to be contracted out or even eliminated. Is it possible we could soon be looking at providing only Oregon state mandated services? I have the responsibility to speak out as a minority commissioner what I've constantly and consistently opposed. By the way, you'll probably hear in even social media voices trying to gut Curry County services. No, My votes are always working towards saving our county services. I'm just going to be even a little bit more aggressive. The atmosphere here, commissioners are responsible and accountable, subjected sometimes to horrible false statements and claims. If I make the most simple decisions that I've been elected twice to do, when I identify these ways, I'm called a bully, you're micromanaging, you're only one commissioner. Constantly told, stay in your lane. I would have never imagined this kind of craziness and terribly mixed up priorities. Remember again, I challenge this committee, consider this, may be the most important few days in the last decade for the county we love and the people we serve. If we don't get this figured out, if we don't control costs, if we don't pull together, if we don't make the tough choices, I believe it's inevitable we will lose much more than valuable employees. We also will lose our means to provide many important county services. Again, it's time to chart new courses. Thank you, board. I look forward to working with you this week, and I appreciate greatly that you're taking the time at this very, very difficult time. Commissioner Pash?
I really don't have a lot to say other than a lot of this, the stuff that you've just put up here is not true. It's not factual, and it's hyperinflated is what I want to say. I'm not even going to justify what you just said with comments. I would like to get on to the business at hand, which is the budget of the county.
Well, you said this is invalid. I challenge the board to
Okay,
find
so
a means to verify if it's invalid, not just make a statement.
This is not
that
the
is bad
time
for
for
the
this,
citizen.
sir. I would like to nominate
When is a
Brad
better time?
Herzog as the chair of the budget committee for the year 2021.
Nominations now open for chair and the board position.
I just nominated Brad Alcorn for chair of the board budget committee of 2021. It's on the floor for a second.
Thank you, Commissioner. I will second that. Any discussion? Call for the question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously.
It's your meeting, sir.
All right.
Hey, we can make the rounds with that.
I'm good with that. I'll just
Okay.
I'll just speak loudly and clearly if I have
Thank
a
you.
problem, sir. But thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Budget orientation, Brad. I'm assuming that's you.
Yep.
All right.
Thank
let's
you.
do it.
So I just first wanted to go over the schedule over the next few days so that everybody is aware. After this orientation, you have your budgets distributed, and I'll deliver the budget message, and then I will be presenting all those departments who will not be presenting tomorrow. If there's time afterward, Chet Brewer, our facilities maintenance manager, would like to take all of you on a tour of the facilities in preparation for his budget review tomorrow, showing where the maintenance issues are, what's needed to bring us back up to what is necessary to keep the buildings running. So, as it has been a year since we've had this meeting, some of you are new. I wanted to go over the budget book and just give a really brief explanation about how it's set up. So your first page, like any kind of book, has your table of contents on it. You'll see up at the top of that, tab 1, tab 2. They don't have any page numbers on them yet. Mostly they will be prepared for the final budget approval. But what we'll be dealing with, we'll start down on tab 3, and you'll see that each fund has its own. Each fund and department will have their own tabs, and that's just to help navigate through this book. In addition to that, there are page numbers on all these pages that we'll reference. If you do flip over to tab number 2, tab 2, I think it's the second page in, you'll see Exhibit A. It'll look like this. This gives just kind of a quick overview of what each of the what each of the pages we will be reviewing looks like. As you can see, the top left will have, the left side of the page will have the historical data on it. The right side of the page will have our proposed budget on it. And then in the middle of the page, it will show what the account is that the numbers correspond with. Any questions on the budget book? It's fairly straightforward, but if it is new, it can take a few minutes to get used to. Okay, there are no questions on that. I'd like to just look at a quick example. So the road fund, which is Department 12, or I'm sorry, tab 12. If you flip over to that, and go to page 37. Okay, about the middle of the page, you start seeing a bunch of descriptions that start off with IGS. So IGS 220 Finance, IGS 220 Payroll HR, and so on. I wanted to give an explanation and the rationale behind those IGSs. They are intergovernmental services, I think is what the IGS stands for, but they are, that is how those departments are funded. The finance department, the HR department, council's department. They're all funded by funds from other departments. It is based off of the total budget of each department, and percentage then is gotten by their budget and the overall budget. It comes up with percentage and then divvies out finances budget based on that percentage. So that's really what I'm trying to say, is that those numbers are all driven by budget numbers, by the percentages that are associated with those budget numbers for each department. You will also see in some of the departments, you'll see an IGS for occupancy. What drives those numbers are the square footage of each department, and occupancy is then in charge of all the maintenance on those departments. So that's pretty logical in my mind, that those numbers are driven by the space needs of each department.
Excuse me, Director Rickert.
Yes.
Did you say occupancy, IGS occupancy?
Yeah, it's not shown on
That's okay.
on
Okay.
this one, but IGS occupancy
That's fine.
is the maintenance needs of each department, and
And
again driven by those square footages.
And the percentages, are they consistent with each entity, or do they vary?
No, well, the percentage varies, but it's based off of their overall budget. So we have a budget of, so if we had a budget of $1 million overall, and say the assessor's department uses 200, their budget is 200,000. Their percentage is based off of those two numbers, and then multiplied out by the budget that accounting needs.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
Any other questions on that methodology there? Okay. All right, that's really it for orientation. And so we're moving on to, you all have your budgets distributed. And I do want to go back a little bit. I talked about the schedule today, but I missed the rest of the week. So just really quickly, tomorrow we'll be starting at 9:15 with the Curry County Transit District, who will be presenting their budget. And then we will continue with the county's budget at 9:30. Tomorrow, I will be talking a lot less, and departments will be coming in and presenting their own budgets, those who have elected to do so. As I mentioned earlier, I will be presenting the balance of those departments today. Yes.
There's this budget, there's this 300-page thing.
That is,
Your department.
yes, yeah. Me and my staff has put a lot of time into preparing this. In addition to the departments have given us their own numbers, and then we've put it together and done everything else with that. So
You can't take it home either.
okay. Then we are done with that, and on to the budget message, if
Yes, go ahead.
that's all right. So tab 2, you have a copy of the budget message. I'll go ahead and read that now. So to the citizens of Curry County, I am pleased to submit for your consideration the 2021 and 2022 proposed annual budget for Curry County. Estimated revenues for the forthcoming budget are compared to the current years as shown in the table below. Revenues from the general fund are expected to be 13% lower compared to last year. These projections are as follows. And on that table, you can see that the general fund is down just under $1.3 million.
Where you at again? I'm sorry. Is that?
Tab 2, you should see the
Yeah.
budget message.
In the beginning. Second page, right there.
I thought we would pass that. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
So the deficit in non-departmental revenues makes up the bulk of the differences compared to last year. This shortfall is due to $1 million in payment in lieu of taxes or PILT funds that were budgeted during the current year but never materialized. Additionally, the road fund began the year with almost $2 million less than what was projected rolling over from the previous year, and therefore has fewer resources overall by $3.8 million. On a more positive note, transient lodging tax is up $600,000 more than expected, and revenues from the vacant property registration, which started last year, are higher than expected. Proposed expenditures for the forthcoming budget year are provided in the following table on a comparative basis with this year's adopted budget. And as you can see, the table below provides you those overall proposed numbers compared with last year's budget numbers. The budget provides for normal progressive step increases for those not presently at the top of their position class range and for COLA required by union contracts. Proposed positions being added to the budget are 1, 4 deputies in the Sheriff's Patrol Fund, a full-time maintenance worker, a part-time employee in community development changing to full-time status, a part-time employee in water safety changing to full-time, a part-time fair employee changing to full-time status, a deputy treasurer being added at 8 hours per week. These positions add up to a total of $606,667 to the proposed budget. Material and services will see a 2% increase overall compared to last year. However, general fund departments range from a 23% decrease to a 45% increase. Additionally, admin services are up 9% due to increases in maintenance needs to the county's aging buildings. Without this increase, the admin department would see a decrease in overall requested funding. General expenses in the roads, clerk's record, and law library funds are all down compared to last year. Contingencies have increased 47% due to the increased rollover funds in non-general fund accounts. Reserves have decreased by about $2.9 million due to the road capital improvement fund being down. The budget is balanced by using property tax receipts, federal and state grants, fees from operations, and approximately $2.5 million from the road fund. The table below shows those departments using general and road fund monies, and it is sorted by those who use the most to the least.
Director Rickert,
Yes.
could you give us that figure again on the road fund for, this is just a 1 year layout there, right? Prediction?
Mm-hmm.
Did you say 3 million?
2.5 million is what is coming from the road fund to balance the budget
For the 21-22?
for 21-22. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
There are a few changes to the fund this year. The most significant change is in public health as the county is transitioning these services to the state. I've estimated about $450,000 to be carried over from the current year. The state may request a portion of these funds be returned for the small amount of time some of the programs weren't staffed. With the absence of public health, a greater portion of admin and occupancy fees have been distributed to the existing departments. A new fund has been created for the road department by splitting out general equipment, self-insurance, general fund services, and vehicle replacement departments. This is for state reporting purposes only. Also, emergency services has moved from community development fund to the sheriff's fund. As the county is faced with declining federal monies and contemplates using road funds, some possible additional revenue sources could be aggressive land sales and pursuing additional grants. Furthermore, forming a revenue committee could be useful to brainstorm ideas to find new revenue streams and increase existing streams. Thank you. That is the budget message.
All right, any questions? Then we'll proceed to the budget presentation.
Oop.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Boyce.
Thank you, no worries. You said the pursuit of new grants. No, let's back up just a little bit. What grants do you already have that maybe you need to outline or identify? I think you referenced some grants that would add to our revenue forecast or picture.
I don't have all that information put together in this presentation.
Okay. So are there new grants that you're also looking at that likewise that we're perhaps unaware of, Director Rickert?
My suggestion was only that could be looked at, that departments could look at additional grants. For example, the road department has done, I think, an excellent job in looking at what projects they want to fund and then going out and finding grants for them so that they are paying, I believe, 10 cents on the dollar. And that Rich can, tomorrow, he can tell you if that number is accurate or not, but somewhere around 10 cents on the dollar, which stretches out those funds. The suggestion is perhaps there are, and most likely there are other grants available in other departments that could be pursued.
And I'll come back when he's done, Mr.
I
Chair.
just wanted to make a comment about our road department. Rich Christensen, the template they follow, all departments should follow. I mean, he does an unbelievable job looking for grants and finding funding for the road department. So I think we should all follow that template.
Mr. Boyce?
Thank you. Yeah, it just took us a long time to figure out how we could, I guess we're figuring it out now for the first time in, a couple of years. Just one other thing, Director Rickert, you mentioned a transfer towards the end there from the Sheriff's Department. I didn't quite get that.
I believe you're referring to the changes in the funds themselves, that the emergency services moved from community development fund to the sheriff's fund.
Very good. That's helpful.
Yes, sir,
That's all.
go ahead.
Historically, for instance, the last decade, how many times have we borrowed money from the road department?
information I don't have, but it was not projected to transfer any funds from the road department for this year. I don't know how that's going to play out yet since we haven't finished the year. The previous year, I know we did transfer money from the road fund. Beyond that, I'm not sure.
Just a comment, continue to do that, and those funds are not being replenished by any harvest. It will take a short time, you're gonna be in a situation that you can't correct. There's not gonna be that kind of money coming to Curry County for that. And prior road department personnel, those records, that historically saved a lot of money. And now we're using it to operate the county, and that only goes so long.
And I completely understand that and believe we do need to aggressively pursue some new funding streams. And again, that's why I suggested a possible formation of a revenue committee to help brainstorm ideas or these setting each department up as the road fund has set themselves up to try to fund their department more aggressively through grants.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, 1 second. Comment, Mr. Boyce?
Thank you again. That $2.5 million is a pretty big hit. I think you'll find on the average, Representative Krieger, that it's been about every other year, but it's usually been around $1 million or $1.5 million. I could be wrong on that, but 2.5 is quite a hit. And to your point, I didn't get to finish I had a couple paragraphs that related to that. Commissioner Pash wanted to work to silence me again, and so those 5 years, yeah, at this rate it would be done in just a few years, and that's a huge concern, obviously that we have. I've worked the last 4 years several times and have failed to get the previous boards to look into a revenue committee again on the possible consumption tax. So we're a little late to that category and that responsibility, sad to say, but better late than never, I would presume, is best for our citizens in that approach. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Pash?
Mr. Chair, I would just ask that all comments, personal nature, be kept to personal business, and we focus here on the budget and stop the attempted assassinations of people's character in this meeting. This is a budget committee meeting, not a meeting to discuss if someone's angry at someone about a decision they made. I'd like to keep that focus if we could, please.
Mr. Chair, nothing personal here. Just, I don't want to be silenced. That's how we got here, because I have been silenced for 4 years.
Well, and I don't want to silence anybody, but at the same time, I want to move this forward because we do have a lot of work to do.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Brad, I have a question for you.
Yes.
You may or may not be able to answer this right now. What's the current balance of the road funds?
I can answer that.
It's in here, 35.
If we turn to
28,
tab 12,
26 maybe.
now on page 38, I believe. Yes, so page 38, you'll see at the top, Road Capital Improvement Department, 23 million. That's projected at the end of this coming year. 23 million, 23.5 million.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Boyce.
Just 2, maybe 3 years ago, it was at 31. So to your point, Representative Krieger, it is going down fast.
All right, thank you, Brad. Any other comments or questions? And budget presentation now, Brad?
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to. I need more space. Okay, we can somewhat.
This is my report from this morning, this is the current balance of the road.
Okay, so as Treasurer Barnes just handed me a piece of paper saying what the current balance in the road funds, which is 29 million at this point.
So it's 29 million.
That is the bank balance in the road fund.
It's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Boyce.
thank you again. I just don't understand why we'd have, I'll just read footer. Maybe I'm missing something there to have a $5 million discrepancy. So we'll look at it. Probably not gonna be enough in the long run. Thank you.
No, we have this budget committee has some very difficult decisions to make, but the reality is we also have to provide services to this county. And that's important. And there are some pillars in here that are important to this community, one of those being law enforcement, and as well as many others. And, you know, without public safety, we don't have very much. So, that's why I wanted to know what the road fund balance was, and at 29 million, because I remember it being, I wanna say it was about, when I started, it was about 28 million, right around there. Might have even been close to 29 million when I started 3 years ago. So I would like to know the answer to that question though, Brad.
And what is the question specifically? The difference?
Yeah, what was it, what was our balance in the road funds, 3 years ago?
Okay.
Oh, sure.
I can go pull the statements from the last years.
That'd be great.
couple of years, I'll be back.
That'd be great.
I'll be back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We can continue on and that can come back. Go ahead,
Yes,
sir.
hi,
Okay.
Mr. Krieger.
Great.
What is the, Brad, what is the date of this 23 million in the budget? What is the date of that number?
That is, I believe, without looking at it again, I believe that's the projected balance at the
This is
end
the
of
projected, yeah.
21-22.
Yeah, what I wanted to bring up is that the bank balance obviously is extremely changeable, meaning that there could be some outstanding, whatever.
Mhm.
So, you know, whether it amounts to 5 million is up in the air at the moment, but I wanted to bring up that consideration
And that is a
to
good
account
point.
for a difference, so.
Thank you.
So the reality is that the road funds have been able to allow us to continue the services that we're providing to the county. And we do need to be cautious, careful about how we use those funds, absolutely. And I think there's another important message that I'm continuing to hear, and that is, what are we gonna do to generate funds in the future? And I know, I'm confident in our commissioners that you guys are gonna come together and generate some revenue sources. I'm confident that the three of you can be creative and do that. But the reality is we have to deal with what we have now for this budget cycle. So I also wanna keep that in context as we proceed. Commissioner Pash.
On a further note on that, to keep into context as well, as this county's just gone through a complete shutdown. We've lost a lot of revenue sources because of that pandemic. We've lost revenue. So I just want to make that, put that in the back of our minds as well. This year may be an anomaly because of in part because of the pandemic as well. So this is just something to all keep in our minds.
Commissioner Boyce.
I just disagree with that a little bit in that we've been greatly compensated, so I don't want to put it at the feet of the pandemic. I think there are long-term effects that we don't know yet, but the short-term effects, we've been reimbursed rather substantially. So my concern of mismanagement, the government of this county, I don't want to pretend like it doesn't exist. I just want to respectfully disagree that we're not controlling cost. And that is the biggest aspect. And no, we haven't increased revenues. And in fact, revenues are going down. It hurts my heart to hear we need to pull in $2.5 million from the road fund reserves. That's, again, we need to understand how we got here so that we don't continue to make the same mistakes. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right. We can wait for Mr. Barnes to come back with that information. Budget presentation, Brent.
Okay, thank you. So tab 3, we're going to skip tab 3 and 4, the BOPTA and clerk elections fund. Those will be presented tomorrow by the clerk. So going to tab 5,
You're on tab 5, I'm sorry.
we're already on tab 5.
Thank you.
This is the county treasurers. And as I go through this, I'm not going to go line by line, but rather just talk about the changes that are made. And one overall change that I'm not going to bring up over and over again is the increase to personnel services. As I mentioned in the budget message, that the calculations for step increases and COLAs required by the union contracts are already in there. So that is something that you'll see increased in every department. As far as the treasurers go, I will mention, everything's really about the same there. No significant changes there. And as again mentioned in the budget message, there was an 8-hour per week deputy treasurer that was included in there. That's really being included in there for the sustainability of that department as elected officials change over in that department. Any questions on treasurer's department?
Yes.
Okay.
What is the treasurer's assistant? What is that? What are the responsibilities of that individual?
That would probably be better answered by the treasurer himself, but as I understand it, it would be to learn all the same duties as the treasurer, be backup for that treasurer, so the treasurer can go on vacation. So, and then but more importantly, for when there is a change in that elected official position, that there's somebody who retains the knowledge of that department to keep things running.
I think that answers my question.
Okay. Okay, moving on.
Can we stay here for just a second? Forgive me for being a little late there. I'm sorry. It says repair and maintenance software, 14,000, almost 15,000. Is that something new, or is that the Cassell upgrade?
Okay.
Do you know by chance on that?
Yeah, that is a good point. There are 3 departments that will show some, that might show some differences in the repair and maintenance of software. That is what I did because OpenGov did not work out. That doesn't mean that we don't still have the problems we do with our payroll system, with the antiquated timekeeping systems that are requiring a lot of staff time to enter in. And so I have budgeted $45,000 split between the treasurer's department, accounting department, and the payroll department to look into some type of either software upgrade or new software altogether. While we're talking about that,
Whoa, you just said,
Cassell,
if I may, you just said a new software altogether,
possibly,
not under the Cassell umbrella.
possibly.
Okay.
And since we are talking about that,
Yeah, that makes me a little nervous. I mean, maybe it's the best, absolute best way to go, but if you don't mind spending a little extra time, I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
And so the rationale, well, the plan going forward is to first look at Cassell for the obvious reason that would be the easiest transition. But we have no guarantees that the cloud version of Cassell will deliver a product that will meet our needs. Therefore, that is why I budgeted about $45,000 to look elsewhere if that doesn't work out.
But we knew we were gonna have to spend a little money on Cassell, I think, didn't we? And so that's a fair.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are
upgrade.
some options with Cassell. Right now, we're using an outdated version. We have the option of either upgrading the server, which I think is about a $25,000 upgrade. I could be really off base
But
on
that's
that.
okay, that's okay.
Or going to the cloud version, which I think would be preferable. But again, it all hinges on, will the upgraded version of Cassell meet the needs that the county has?
Very good, Board. The reason that I'm spending this time is because, you know, my antennas really perked up when we might be looking at a new system. I might be putting too much confidence in our, you know, capacities to upgrade Cassell, and that's been our hope for me, it's been almost 2 years as a battle against the OpenGov thing. So I just want to make sure that the board knows why that is a huge issue for this county and bringing that up to date.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Rucker, is there, with respect to Cassell's payroll abilities, which are, you know, a little questionable, is there a list of software packages that would integrate with Cassell? Not the Cassell payroll per se, but a payroll system that would meet more of your needs, or the county's needs, that would be integrated with Cassell.
I don't have the answer to that question. I mean, just going from experience, yeah, there is that possibility that we can keep Cassell and get a new payroll system. Again, it's an additional expense. I don't know how much that would be off the
Right. No,
top
we
of my
don't.
head, and it depends on the product. But that is an option if Cassell payroll doesn't meet the county's needs. We could stay with Cassell, thus having the ease of upgrade, not having to change the chart of accounts around, but then also integrate a third-party payroll system. Third-party is the wrong word, but a different payroll system.
Any other comments or questions on this topic?
We just have a contract with a service provider that is a Cassell expert, so I think it's fair to have reasonable optimism that we will not have to change to a different system. So yeah, I think everybody has their fingers crossed here. 45,000 sounds high, but I'm not going to dispute that because it might be right on. I don't know.
No,
Okay.
it's an estimate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. And off topic just a little bit. Mr. Barnes, did you have that information?
These are, I printed out the last 4 years ending December 31st. I didn't do it on fiscal, I did it on calendar. But this shows you the ending balance at the end of the last 4 years of the road fund, according to LGIP, which is the state local government investment pool.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes.
Huh?
That seems to be what I remember. Pretty consistent. We should be very thankful for these road funds, absolutely. But we should also be very motivated to find those new revenue sources in the future.
Well said.
Sir?
Okay.
No, saying hello to John.
Hello, John.
Hello. Sorry, Mike.
Or Mr. Herzog, excuse me.
All right. Brad, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip tabs
6.
7, 8, 9, 10, and go to tab 11, which is the non-departmental, I'm sorry, tab 12, which is non-departmental. So I'm not going to spend too much time here. because I've really already said everything that needs to be said in the budget message. But this is where the majority of funds, property taxes, PILT money, other federal monies come into, and as I've said, that is down. I believe I said $1.2 million, or close to 1.3 million.
What page are you on, Director Rickert?
27.
I thought we were in 12.
Yeah, it's. Oh, I'm sorry. It was tab 11.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so you're on page 27?
Yes, page
Okay.
27, tab 11. Again, I don't have a whole lot more to say on that fund unless there are questions. This is where you'll see a lot of the on page 37, you'll see a lot of the transfers to. This represents the money flowing out from the general fund to backfill department requirements. And I included an excerpt on the budget message showing which departments were drawing the most out of the general fund. It's not really surprising that it's sheriff departments that are needing those funds the most. Some departments that aren't necessarily reflected on page 37 are those that are in the general fund. They are included in the budget message. The assessor's office is pulling more than $500,000 from the fund. County elections, $356,000 from the fund. Tax collection, $186,000. Treasurer, $123,000. Those are the general fund departments that are pulling those funds. And again, they are necessary for operations of the county. But any questions on that? Okay. Okay. Okay, we're going to skip the road funds, the clerk funds, the law library, the sheriff's fund, tower fund. Those will all be presented tomorrow. And skipping over to tab 17, other special revenues. Okay. First department there is court mediation department. That's page 76. And no changes there. So moving on to state court security department, page 77. No changes.
Wait, did you just say
Hold on a minute, we're
77?
The numbers are wrong on that.
Are they?
Yeah, you're in sheriff's special revenue right now.
Okay. Sorry, I'm working off of two sets of
I understand.
pages here. So
So we're back,
all right.
we're still on tab
Tab
17? Okay.
And page 90, page 89 and 90, no changes. Page 91, State Court Security Fund, no changes. Solid Waste, page 93. There are really no changes here, although There was an omission that was pointed out to me. There should be salaries there. This will not have any effect on the general fund. It'll affect the contingency in that account, so it'll decrease that by, I believe, $32,000. But really no changes in that fund. Flipping the page to page 95, the Port Orford Landfill Trust, no changes. Moving over to PEG Access, page 97, no changes there.
Question?
Yes.
Total resources 70. I've been promoting the word about 42,000 on that. I wonder if I had made a mistake. But that's the ending fund balance? No, the total, okay, what's the ending fund balance in there?
The ending fund balance for this year, or which year are you talking about?
I'm on page 97.
Yes.
PEG Access Department, total capital outlay 70. The restricted fund balance is 30. Okay, I think I was off a little bit on that, thank you.
Okay. Okay, page 99, transient lodging tax. So this was a new fund that was created this year. It was projected. Well, it was projected to collect about $300,000 this year. So far, we've collected about $900,000. And this fund then is split between tourism promotion, the Sheriff's Department, economic development, and the event center. So that is how those TLT dollars are being divvied out and used. But that has been a nice little highlight, I guess, to the budget. Okay, and then page 100, the vacant property registration. This fund was changed a little bit this year, or for next year. This year, all those funds from the vacant property registration were going into code enforcement. I have moved it out to its own department because those funds are divvied up between code enforcement and the Sheriff's Department, as you can see on page 100. Other than that, no changes.
Quick question.
Yes.
Mr. Bash?
The fee for the vacant property registration is $100 annually?
Yes.
$125,000. $120 or something, isn't it? Yeah, that's a lot of vacant properties in this county for a housing shortage that we have. This county that, I just heard another story the other day, a deputy moved into the county and was living in his car for a time because he couldn't find a place to live. We've got 12,500 registered vacant properties in a county of 23,000 people. Something's askew there. Thank you.
Okay. We can continue on, or it is 10 o'clock. Time to break staff.
Yeah, let's take a
15-minute break.
15 minutes is fine, so we'll reconvene at 10:15.
Okay.
There's something about having land and sea. Never having to choose between digging in or looking out. Here, you can go where the spirit or the wind moves you. To the tops of the trees, along secluded beaches, or into more wild and scenic rivers than anywhere else in the western United States. We're the closest place to the sunset while still keeping your feet dry, and a destination where anyone can begin. We share more than we keep, so you can see more than you imagined. This is a place you have to touch, hold, and feel to believe. The entire shoreline of the West Coast's best coast is open to you, and playgrounds made of forests are waiting for you. Escape to Curry County and don't leave anything out.
If yours is the next big idea, and you need the right place to fine-tune it, build it, launch it, if you're only your best when you can play more than you work, if inspiration comes from the outside, you belong in Curry County. The westernmost point of the land you love, and the edge between familiar and uncharted. Break the pattern. Be where the airports are as close as the beaches, and industry and recreation never cease to amaze. Dock, dive, and dine in a single day, and never lose your connection. This is the threshold of the West. Live where you can do you and do it well.
All right, I've cut our break short because we have Brad's got a family emergency he needs to attend to. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to end this meeting right now to allow him to attend to his needs, and then we will reconvene as scheduled at 9:15 tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Everybody in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.